Hello everyone! Welcome to Vlogmas 2020, where I am vlogging every day in December leading up to Christmas. I have a llama sniff in the camera. You want to show yourself? This is Oliver. So I am here at the boys' barn today because I'm going to introduce you to all the boys. And I learned from doing the video of the girls the other day that I should do this before I feed them alfalfa, because they're very attentive and they're anxiously awaiting their goodies, rather than I did the video of the girls after the alfalfa, even a half an hour after the alfalfa, and they were still obsessed with it. And as you remember, most of you remember because you've already watched it, that they had their heads buried in whatever was left. So this time the boys are all paying attention. So again, I'm going to split this into two videos because there's just so many that if I did the whole herd in one video, it'd be like over an hour. So, I mean, well over an hour. But yeah, again, I'm going to go in order of the ones who've been here the longest to the newer ones. And the one guy you keep hearing is the one behind him. The white face back there. Yeah, he's just a whiner, and he's complaining that he doesn't have alfalfa yet. I just got here. Anyway, let's get to it. All right, so first off, we have this black one. His name is Maximus. He's a Surrey. He came with the very first Surrey group that I had. So he was part of the group with Toy Dancer and Fanny. That original group was 12, and that would have been almost 9 years ago, about 8.5, almost 9 years ago. So a lot has happened. A lot of them were older and have died since then. Something I did not say in my previous videos with the girls is the average lifespan of an alpaca and llama is 20 years. And I did have a girl that lived to be 21. She was a Bolivian import. Some of my early videos, you will see her. Her name was Sophie. So I'm going to go over here and track Maximus. So he is, yeah, one of the OGs. He is also Jules' dad. If you remember when I introduced her, that she was a carbon copy of her daddy. This is almost the angle that we had her at most of the time. So you could probably tell she looks so much like her dad. She's the only cria that I ever got out of him. He's an old man now. He does shiver in the winter, so I do coat him. I apologize for any wind noise. It's just a little breezy today. So that is Maximus. He is probably about 18, 19 years old as well. I did not look up his age. He is skinny. That can happen when they're in their older years. Their bodies have just been through a lot. Sometimes their teeth get wore down, so they're not able to grind their food as well. So, you know, as we get older, as we age, things happen to our body, so it just doesn't work like it used to, and that's what Maximus is experiencing. This guy here is named Ever Ready. He was part of the group that came from Kearney with Charla and Onyx and those guys, or those girls actually. So he's an older guy. Again, my goodness, I'm gonna guess he's probably about 13 now. As you can tell, he's white, so I get some nice white fiber off of him that is dyeable. Although at this point, his fiber usually goes into rugs and dryer balls. But he does very nicely on the halter. He's had some eye issues a couple times over the years, and he's in general a good patient. Last winter, he also contracted M-worm. I had M-worm sweep through about half of the group that was in this pasture, and that is a parasite that they get just from grazing. The snails carry this parasite into the pasture. Well, they don't carry it. I guess it's deer. Wherever there's white-tailed deer, they are the carriers, but it's actually the worm itself, the parasite worm itself, is transported through the snails that are a part of the ecosystem with the deer. So that apparently was in the pasture somewhere, and there was, you know, half a dozen of them or so that came down with this. And so I had an area over in the girls' barn that still exists for those that I was treating for that, because it requires an aggressive treatment, lots of meds over a few days, and it's something that affects their nervous system, specifically their back end, and so they're kind of compromised for a while. Well, as either they recovered and were brought back over here like everybody did, or they ended up passing away for one reason or another. So I still have one guy over there who you'll meet later who is still recovering from that. I guess you'll meet him tomorrow because he's one of the newer guys. All right, so yes, everybody's been here a long time. You can see he is settled in. He, for a little bit there, was the alpha guy. And he was good at breaking up fights. When a couple of them would get into it, he would intervene, and yeah, he is one of the drama makers and drama partakers when it happens. Yeah, he's usually part of, there's this small group of guys that if there's commotion, they're in on it and taking action on it, and yep, he's a part of them. The wind is picking up, so I'm hoping that the sound isn't too bad for you. But this next guy is Vinnie. As you can tell, he is a llama. He's a pretty big guy there. And he was one of the first 4 llamas that I purchased when I first got this property. So I've talked about the old property before where Thunder was the guard. Well, when I purchased the property we're at now, I needed my own guards. So I got 4 llamas, and Vinnie was one of them, meant to be in with the adult boys, which is the group that we're in. So he's been here 5 years, and you're going to meet his son a little bit later. And Vinnie, I'm not so sure about his history. He was one of the guys that the previous owner bought at an auction. So he has a history that I don't know much about at all. I don't know if he's registered or anything. But what I know is that he is considered a light wool llama. Now, he was fully sheared this year, or shorn. So it's a little harder to tell. But his fiber type is, well, on the fine side for llamas, and it goes down his hips and a little down his legs. And so the different classes of llama fiber, there'll be ones, say if it's a medium wool or a heavy wool, that they'll have more fiber on them, and more specifically down their legs. So he's like a light wool, but he's a beautiful color. It's almost like this heathered color. He has a little bit of fawn in there and a little bit of beige, and he has a dark head. Actually, his son is right behind him. Isn't that awesome? That's Oliver. I'll talk more about him. I don't know if in this video or the next one, I'm not quite sure which it's going to be, but you'll learn more about him in a bit. So Vinnie, when he first got here, he was not too big on being touched or handled, but my mother has wooed him with treats, and he was wary about taking the treats right out of our hand. We feed horse treats. They like the apple flavor and the peppermint flavor. And he was wary about taking them from your hand, so she'd put them in a bowl, or the bowls that we used to feed. She'd put it in that and then hold that out, and he'd put his face in there and learn to take it from there. And now he'll take it out of your hand. He'll let me touch him. Like I said, he got fully sheared this year. Oliver just wants to be in all the action. And something that happened this year during shearing time, he did get injured, and I had an animal chiropractor come out here and help him. But for a little while there, he was demoted in the social hierarchy of this herd. So every time an animal is added to the herd or removed from the herd, there's this time where they have to figure out their social hierarchy. So that's when the boys will be very expressive. They'll fight more, they'll spit more, they'll chase each other, and the ones at the top are vying for that top spot. So there is a hierarchy, some at the top, some at the bottom, and Vinnie here, he used to be a lot higher than he is now. He's older now, and he was injured there for a little while, but he's regained quite a bit of ground within that. Now, there's something a little odd about him when he eats, and I think I've got this on film in past videos, maybe even last Vlogmas, I don't remember, the Vlogmas of 2019. But he has this habit when we feed them alfalfa, which we will do in these tubs. You see the tubs there. So he will take his front foot and knock it over. Like put it inside and pull down and knock it over, and then stick his head in there in the same way in which he's doing now and eat. And of course he dumps it all over the ground. And what's interesting is his son has the same behavior. And his son Oliver did that before he ever spent any time with his dad. So it's an inherited behavior, which is very interesting. Okay, the next animal is Roman. He's the one staring right at us. I got him at the same time that Vinnie came, but Roman was 1 month old. Oh, so cute. Oh my goodness, just the cutest little guy. And he came with his mom, Bridget. Something I didn't say yesterday is that all of the llamas that came to me did not have a name. So Molly and Jessica did not have a name. Vinnie, Roman, and Roman's mom, who I named Bridget, none of them had names. And I don't know, some people are like that. They just don't name their animals. But you know what? They're here as a part of my family for years. They get names. So, Roman was 1 month old when he came with his mama, Bridget. And I got her to be guards, of course, with the girls. Little did we know she was pregnant with this guy here, but I'll get to him in a little bit. But Roman, he was the cutest little guy. He is super, super friendly. When you come to visit the ranch, he is in your personal space because he wants attention. He loves attention. Now, llamas and alpacas do not like their heads being touched. In general, they don't like being touched at all, but especially not their head. Do not touch their head. If you're visiting a place and you want to touch them, you touch their back, maybe their neck, but never the head. However, Roman likes the attention. He will let me pet his cheek, the top of his head. He will come up in your face and say, "Pay attention to me." And that's why when people come and visit the ranch, he is in so many photos. He's probably all over Facebook because he just wants to be by people. He likes people and he likes the attention. And for whatever reason, he wants to be petted. He wants that to happen. But he has grown to be an amazing guard animal. He right now is the top dog of this herd. And let's see, I've had him now, I guess he'd be 5 years old now. Just turned 5 years old this summer. And on average, male llamas and alpacas will mature at around age 3. So it took him a while to grow up. And even in this last year, I swear he's gotten bigger. And it's not just the fiber. Like, I think he's taller. He's just a big boy. Now, he does have a lot of fiber on there. He's been shorn once, and it was just a barrel cut. So next year, he's due for a full shear because he does have some matted areas on him, especially the parts that were never shorn. The barrel cut just means the center, like between the shoulder and hips. So the back and the sides, and that's to keep them cool in the summertime, yet the fiber is there to protect them. But every once in a while, when the fiber does get matted, I do a full shear on the llamas. Just like you saw Vinnie, this year he got a full shear. And that was because he had long fiber and lots of matted fiber. I don't think he was ever shorn in his life. If he was, it was a very long time ago. But this is Roman. This is Riley. He was one of the crias born to me. He was born in my yard. He is 5 years old now, and his mom was part of the group that came with Kiona. So she would have came just before we moved to this property, and she was pregnant with him. So I have no idea who his dad is, but I'm guessing his dad's color was something similar to his because his mom was a dark silver gray. So he has gray genetics, but birthing crias for a specific color is definitely a science, and there's a lot of research yet to do with that. Unless you have two parents with a solid color for multiple generations going back, there's no telling what color you're going to get. A lot of the times you just don't really know. Now, like I said, it's a science. And so for him to come from a dark silver gray means there's a lot of color in his genetics. And like I said, I don't know what color his dad is. I don't know anything about his dad. But I'm kind of wondering if his dad looked kind of like this. He did get his mama's face. As you probably could tell from other videos, I love things related to genetics in people and animals. I like looking at parents and seeing what qualities a child got or the offspring got from their parents. And so with Riley, I do the same, well, all of them, but with Riley, I do the same thing. He has his mama's face, but he doesn't have her color. He has a very sweet demeanor. Now, the very first video I ever did, which was on our Facebook page, I don't know how many years ago it was, and it was of Riley when he was a baby. He was, I don't know, maybe 6 months old or so, and he was a talker. I would say he's telling me stories. When I would come do chores, he would come approach me and just hum and hum and hum. So when he was a baby, he talked a lot. But then he got into what we would call his teenage years, and he stopped talking. Now, sometimes he comes up and wants attention. He'll actually let me pet him. And other times he's just like, oh, nope, doing my own thing. I don't really care. Like now, he doesn't really care. It's like, I'm just going to stuff my face. This is good right here. But he's a sweetie. And he has very nice fiber. It's a very nice handle. I like his son. This is Rum Chato, who I call Rum for short. And he, as you can tell, looks very similar to Riley. And in fact, Rum is 4 days older than Riley. Yeah. Rum also has one parent who was a gray, I believe a silver gray, and it might have been his dad. I don't remember exactly. But you can tell they're very similar color. Unless you really know them, they're easy to mix up. Guys, come on. Arguing over food. But Rum is one of the guys that when I have bred in the past, I chose to use him because he is registered, he has very nice genetics, he has a very nice fiber, and he has this light color that would be great for dyeing and using in different fiber arts projects, but he also has that silver gray genetics in there somewhere. So a lot of possibilities with color. So he is halter trained. If ever I did shows, he would be one that I'd probably enter in and see what I could do, but I've never been one to really do shows. But Rum would be worth trying out with this show circuit if I wanted to do it. He's a very nice guy. I like him. This boy here is Cleo, and I call him Cleo for short. He is a bay black, which means it is in the black family, but it's not super, super black, which we would call a true black. So you can tell it kind of has a brown hue on the tips. If I were to pull apart his fiber down at the base, at his skin, it's going to be very dark, but at the tips it's a little bit lighter. So it has this dark mocha tinge to it. So in the alpaca world, we would call this color a true black. I do have some brown boys, which you'll see in at some point here, I don't know, in this video or the next one, where you'll be able to compare his dark color to, say, a dark brown. That you can see his face has more of that black, his ears, his actual muzzle, nose is black. But Cleo I got from Colorado. I came across, well, let's see, I'm part of a Facebook group for rehoming alpacas, which is a group where you just basically give away your animals to a new home. So there was someone who was giving one. They were in Colorado. So I went to get that one, and Cleo was at that farm, and I bought Cleo while I was there. He came from a breeding farm who did shows. He has nice genetics. He has very nice fiber. Now, he is not one who really likes to be touched. You touch him and he just kind of screams. But he's getting used to it. He's just making his dissatisfaction known. Like I mentioned earlier, llamas and alpacas in general, they don't like to be touched. They have to be desensitized and trained to be handled. They naturally are prey animals, meaning other animals hunt them and eat them. So naturally they have this instinct to always be on guard, to always be on watch, and that contributes to them not wanting to be touched, because it's like their instinct is that it's something scary and something bad. So we have to train them that they are in a safe environment and that we are safe people. And that happens over time. The other thing that is happening with Cleo is that he is the escape artist. You remember from, what was it, day 3, day 4? I forget, maybe it was day 3. The escape artist, this guy. Oh my goodness. It has been over a week since I did that video, since I filmed that video, and he's still getting out. We have fixed multiple places in the fence, in different areas of their pasture, and either he always had a few areas where he got out, or he kept discovering them as we eliminated them. And this has happened before with other guys, that once they discover they can get out, then they keep pushing the limits. So as I mentioned in that other video, we kind of play this game of they get out, we fix the fence. They get out somewhere else, we fix the fence, until they run out of options. So at least now he's not being found near the road, near the highway that we are located on, but rather near the barn, which there's our hay field between the highway and their barn. So there's a nice distance of about 400 feet, at least 400 feet, between the highway and their barn. So, you know, he's not in any danger. He's out there eating grass, of course, and we get him back in. But at least I'm not getting any more calls of alpaca out. But, yeah, we're still figuring it out with Cleo. This brown one here is Cowboy. Yep, Cowboy. He is he my last gelding? I think he is. Okay, so he is gelded, and he was gelded when I got him. I got him from a young lady who had raised alpacas in high school. I think she was in 4-H, and she was a part of a 4-H program for alpacas and llamas. So she had a few. She was going off to college and just taking a few of them with her. So I acquired Cowboy from the ones that she was selling. I got a group of, I think, 4 of them from her. And so Cowboy was handled a lot. worked with in 4-H, of course, so he was handled a lot, and he is great on a halter. He is great with children. This is my PR guy. If I'm going to take an alpaca anywhere, say to a school or some event, you know, it's the holidays now, so some people like, you know, pets on display for some kind of nativity scene or something. This is the guy that I would take for that. He likes kids. He will sniff them. He will allow them to touch him. He doesn't spit. He is so well behaved. And when guests come, he is always paying attention. He likes people. And so he's a sweetheart. I like him. He has such a nice demeanor, and he has a nice fiber too. I'm not quite sure why he was gelded, and I wish that he wasn't, because I probably would have used him in breeding. For whatever reason it happened, but I appreciate him being a part of my herd. This is Bear, spelled B-I-E-R, which is German for beer. And I think he was named Beer because of his color. He's in the shadow right now, so it's hard to tell, but he is a nice medium brown, a nice rich color. He's also a big boy. Even when he's sheared, like his neck is thick, and he's just, you could tell in his face, he's just kind of big boned. He's just a big guy. But he also produces, I think right now, the biggest blanket at shearing time. It is massive. It is very dense. He has so much fiber. It is literally like a blanket on your bed. Like, I don't know, queen size at least. It's just huge. So I get a lot of fiber off of this boy. And he's just a nice guy. I've mentioned before, I don't work with my animals a lot in terms of haltering them and walking them or training them to do anything. But he's a well-natured animal. He came with Cowboy from that same group. So he came from a background where he was handled a lot. Now, he's not as keen on people as Cowboy is, but he does well enough. So he's easy to handle and, you know, trim his toes and stuff like that. He behaves pretty well. This is Gus. As you can tell, he is another llama. He is Bridget's son. He was born a year after Roman, and so when Bridget came here, she was pregnant with Gus, and I didn't know. It was kind of a 3-in-1 deal, and I didn't know that either, because I bought Bridget. Roman came at her side at 1 month old, and she was carrying Gus all at the same time. Now, in case you're wondering, alpacas and llamas, their gestation is 11.5 months, and then the female can be bred as soon as 2 weeks after giving birth. So the females can be pregnant all the time. And some of them actually do best being pregnant all the time in terms of behavior and health. They're just, it's kind of like they're wired that is their ideal situation. But Gus here, yeah, he was a surprise. Well, I shouldn't say it like that, because Bridget looked pregnant. And I knew it was very possible that she had got rebred before she was brought to me. But Gus, when he was born, his birth announcement was in the local paper. He's as cute as can be. He is white all over. He has a little black mark near his eye, the back of his eye that you can tell. And his tail is brown. Look at that, his tail is brown. He's so cute. It's like it got dipped in ink. His tail got dipped in ink and the rest of him is white. But his demeanor, he is so sweet. He is such a sweet guy. And that Bridget, she gave me 3 boys, and they're all wonderful. It was a very sad day when we lost her. I didn't know how old she was when I got her. She was one that was bought at auction with Vinnie by their previous owner, so no background on her, but she was a wonderful llama, and it was a definite loss when she passed away. Like I said, she gave me 3 boys, and Gus here is also an amazing guard. Like him and Roman, they are on it. They are a team, and I mean, wow. Now Gus is gelded because when he became of age, about 9 months old, I think Bridget had already weaned him. And I separated him from her, and he was not having it. He jumped the fence. As young as he was, he jumped the fence. And in fact, he did it 3 times because I kept separating him, and he kept getting back with his mom. Well, he was of the age where he could have bred females, and I said, okay, if you are going to be in here with the girls, that is Bear back there. He is very vocal, especially when it comes to food and his personal space. And he's there with Everready, and those two go at it quite a bit, let me tell you. Yeah, they do. Ugh. Okay, so Gus, what was I saying about Gus? All right, I had to actually watch the video to remember what I was talking about, and I did hear the wind noise. I'm sorry about that. It's just, if I'm filming every day for you, there's going to be wind. It's Nebraska, and I'm sorry about that, but that's just the way it is. But I was talking about Gus, and that I ended up having to geld him because he would not leave his mom, which meant that he had to stay with the females. And at his age, even though he was pretty young, there's a possibility that he could breed them. Well, I did not want a llama breeding my female alpacas. So he got gelded earlier than I ever would have chosen. But, you know, it worked out. So he stayed in with the girls, but eventually moved into an area that I use for my weaned boys and the geldings. And so for a while there, he was the guard of that group. It was a small group, but he was in there with Cowboy and Oliver, who you've already met, but I haven't talked fully about yet, and a few others that are no longer with us. And actually last winter, I think Thunder was in that group as well because he's a gelding. But Gus, like I said, is an amazing guard, and he has grown. One of the things I was concerned about with gelding him so early is that his growth would be stunted, which is can be one of the side effects by doing it early. But he is big and tall, and him and Roman not being gelded, you know, they are very similar size. So thankfully that was not a thing with him. And in fact, gotta show you who's been snuggling up to me as I've been talking. Yes, he just nuzzled my cheek. Are you wanting attention, Roman? Oh, no, now he does not. Okay. He's not. Well, Gus, tell you about Oliver. How can I tell you about Roman and Gus and Vinnie and not tell you about Oliver when he has made so many appearances in this video already? So this is Oliver. He is the youngest in this group. He is 3 years old. Yeah, 3. He's over 3 now. I'm trying to think exactly. He was the last cria that Bridget gave me, and she actually died when he was 5 weeks old. I told you Vinnie is his dad. And his mom looked a lot like Roman in terms of the coloring, and also the fiber type. So Oliver is a very interesting blend of his parents. Actually, the dark shape along his back is his mom. She had something like that. But this fiber type that Oliver has is more like his dad, which I really like because that gives me more options in the fiber arts and with products. And I look forward to working more with his fiber. This was the first year that he was shorn. So, of course, it was really long and matted and not the greatest to work with. But going forward, he'll get a barrel cut, at least a barrel cut, and I'll get some fiber to play around with. But Oliver is a sweetheart. Part of it is, well, he's Bridget's son, and she just creates great llamas. But also because she died at when he was 5 weeks old, I bottle fed him for a number of months. At that time, Gus was still a part of the girl group, and so Gus, remember who was gelded at that time, became a surrogate parent for Oliver. It really turned out to be a good situation under the circumstances. Look, he got out. While I've been walking around here filming, he got out. Oh. Okay, I'm going to keep talking about Oliver and deal with Cleo later. He's overeating alfalfa and not going anywhere. So, yes, Oliver, despite losing his mom, it actually was a pretty good situation where I was able to bottle feed him and make sure he had the proper nutrition. But Gus was showing him how to be a llama, and he really needed that. And so when Oliver got to be the age that he should no longer be with the girls, I moved him and Gus and some others into the small group that Gus ultimately became the guard of. And they were all there until earlier this year when Oliver graduated over into the big boys, and he's gonna do that. So let me reposition so that you don't have to watch all that. But he's giving a full show. You don't need to see all that. But yeah, he graduated over into the big boy group, and there was a little drama at first, which is totally expected with newcomers into the group. The social dynamic, as I mentioned before, just kind of gets all rearranged, and the guys at the top have to exercise their dominance and reassert their position in the herd, and kind of inaugurate the new guys. And the new guys have to figure out what's going on, and ultimately in the following days and weeks, the new guys figure out where they belong. So yeah, that's when a lot of the drama occurs. But it's been nice that Oliver has grown up to be part of this group, because now I have all of the boys except for Triton in this group, and there's a lot less drama. And I expect Oliver to grow up to be a nice guard too, because he has a lot of good influence here. He gets along well with his dad. And he's still growing up though. I'm learning, 3 years old. He may be sexually mature, but he still has growing up to do. And his size, I expect even his size to get bigger. Thank you for joining me today for Vlogmas 2020. I'll see you tomorrow.